we pulled in the hotel, and I was messaging with J Mike, and she's like, how far? How? And I was like, it's probably like 14 or so. She's like, we should do that. This wasn't that bad. I mean, that would be fun.
So she wants to visit J Mike, but none of the rest of us.
Like I'm 2 hours away. You can come visit me. Did we lose him?
Oh, he's frozen.
I did. That's it. The thought of coming to visit me, and that's it. His internet cut out.
You turned him to stone.
Just like,
smooth move.
I will never suggest it again, Zach. I apologize. I ruined your internet.
All over a trip just to visit you too. That's pretty strong, Kevin.
I know. Yeah. What are you gonna do? I got a nice backyard. We got a pool. They could hang. The kids could hang out. You'd have a great time, Zach. I promise.
So wait, the hotel has a fenced-in backyard. That's pretty sweet.
I don't live in the hotel, J Mike. I don't live here. Despite what
I'm sorry. How many days will you be staying there in the course of a 30-day month?
This month I will be here for 9 days.
Huh? But you don't live there.
That's resident status.
9 out of 30.
You can actually get a discount if you go to college in Ohio right now. Like you could do that.
That's true. Yes.
You're in that hotel that you're in right now for 9 days?
No, I will be here until Friday, and then I'll go home for Saturday, Sunday, and then I will be back again on Monday. So,
wow! And you got there today?
Yesterday. So,
and you haven't bought any alcohol yet?
Well, yesterday was a long day. Today as well was a long day
for alcohol, right?
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I really screwed the pooch on this. I should have bought alcohol. I drove right past a big Walmart too, which I assume has lots of alcohol. Because in Ohio, I imagine everything sells alcohol.
You want to share one of these, Kevin?
I stopped at there's like a library in a mall where I got food earlier today, and there was alcohol at the library. It was really weird, J Mike. What's going on? Is it rough living in Ohio? Does everyone need to drink?
Listen, if you thought if you thought the mean streets of Foxborough or something, you've got another thing coming.
Have you seen how many women are shooting videos in libraries these days? The alcohol's flowing.
That's it. It's the new hotspot. That's right. Books are back in, baby.
I don't know about books. Something's in.
Listen, I will tell you, I did drive by a drive-through liquor store, which I haven't been to yet, but I plan on going to tomorrow because I saw it and we don't have that up where I am, and it sounds awesome.
What could possibly go wrong with that?
It looked like a car wash, Zach. I don't know if you've seen these, but literally it looks like a big car wash. And then I noticed it's not a car wash at all. You drive in and there's like coolers on either side and you just pick up your stuff and it's amazing.
Listen, we don't do a lot of messing around. Listen, I've got places to go. I've got people to see. I've got lineups to set, and I don't have time to wait around in line for my 6-pack of Black Cherry White Claw or whatever else you might be excited for.
You imagine the guy brainstorming that. He's like, okay, I'm in a state that has got the Bengals. It's got the Browns.
The Browns, yeah.
What do we need? We need more drive-through liquor store.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
And with that, everyone, whether it is on Periscope, whether it is on YouTube, whether it is in podcast form, welcome in to the one, the only, the Open Bar. It's Tuesday night. You're hearing my voice first because the head honcho himself at FF Man Bun, Gabe Gearing, is out doing his basically best impression of himself, where he's consistently living his best life. But he actually spent the weekend up here with me in Cincinnati, so he needed some time to recover. But also, there's a certain Tyler, the Creator, concert that he's attending now, so hopefully he's enjoying that. But I was able to wrangle up a few friends here. Some might call this nepotism. I'm not sure because it's a whole lot of DFPN network in the building. And we've got another friend that will be joining us here soon. Not part of the DFPN network, but still a friend nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get into my guests. If you're looking at the screen directly to my left, we've got one half of the Dynasty Dummies, Mr. Zach Reed at Tacit Assassin 13 on Twitter. What up, Zach?
Not too much. How are you tonight?
Man, listen, I'm not sure I could be better. This is good. I've got my current drink that is just about empty here of water, and I am struggling. So I think I am FFDD this evening. But thank you very much for coming through. Bottom left here on the screen, with his 0 for 4 Aaron Judge cold drink in his hand. Yes, at Sal Lito FF. Sal, what is up, big brother?
You hurt me, J. Mike. Cut me deep. And I'm glad you brought that up because Chris Joel Smith asked if this was a White Claw. It's not.
It's worse.
It is a Pinstripe Pilsner made by the Blue Point Brewing Company, which is a Long Island-based brewing company. And I'm drinking these tonight because I need to get rid of them. I thought I'd be drinking them further into the October month. But right now, Jose Altuve is up at bat on my TV, and he's not playing against the Yankees. So, no White Claw for me, Chris. And I'm good, J-Mike. Thanks for hurting me.
It's gone from pinstripe to pumpkin spice real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to have to break out the Sam Adams, which we all know is a Boston-based brewery.
Embrace it. Embrace it, Sal.
I like the Sam Adams. I ain't going to complain.
Speaking of Boston, representing Boston, but currently about, 15, 20 minutes away from from the HQ here for the open bar here in Cincinnati. We've got the Kevin Cotillo at Kevin Cotillo on Twitter. Kevin, what's good, man?
What's going on? I'm still a little disappointed you didn't invite me over for dinner, but I will make it through. I'm glad I get to talk to you on this fine program tonight. And any year the Yankees don't win the World Series is a good year for me.
Well, we've had less of those than anybody else.
That's fair.
I think it was Bill Simmons on his podcast. He was talking to one of his friends who's a huge Yankees fan, and it said something to the effect of was it this decade or was it in the 2000 something that we haven't even seen the Yankees in the World Series, like the first time ever?
This was the first time this decade from 2010 till now, because they won it in 2009. It's the first time since the 1910s that they were not in at least one World Series in a decade. So
back when Sal was in short pants.
Yeah, it's back when I wore knickers. Yeah. I had knickers and hush puppies.
Let me ask you real quick, Sal. Did you also rock a Jerry curl back then? I'm just curious.
Oh, I did. I let my soul glow. I really had with no shame. I could find pictures of me with a perm in high school, with hair down to my shoulders. So it did happen.
Is there a way for me to share pictures on this thing? Because if there is, I have some stuff that Sal has shared with us previously. Him going full on New York, like leg up on the truck with the greaser haircut. I mean, you name it, I got it.
I was probably pretty drunk. I don't remember those pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And as a late addition to the pod, we welcome in Mr. Brandon Rojas on Twitter at Brandon R_519. Mr. Rojas, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Just barely, but hey, no time for sound checks. We are just all up in it. So how you feeling, man?
Good. Had to run across campus to make it here on time. Flag football game went a little long, but we're good.
The only real question is, did you win?
I was refereeing, actually. Injury delayed the game. Hate to see it.
You're in charge of the clock, Brandon. It's like, wow, we're going to have 5 minutes just disappeared. You got to Belichick it and just let the clock run for those penalties back to back.
I personally, I wanted to, but I mean, it was a close game, so they were on me, everybody. I was like, God damn it. I'm just trying to get out of here.
That's the way it is sometimes. Now, Brandon, we do have to bring up something very important, something near and dear to my heart that you're obviously close to. NBA kicks. I'm about to say kicks off. NBA season tips off, if you will, tonight. I should say my beloved Spurs in your home state are hopefully going to make the playoffs. And you're a Bulls fan, which still baffles me. Can we talk about that just for 1 second? Why you don't love the home state Spurs?
Okay, so I'm relatively young, so the first time I started watching basketball regularly, Derrick Rose was my favorite player. He still is. And ever since then, I've been a Bulls fan. We're going through some tough times right now. I do like the Spurs. Sometimes the fans can get annoying, but I do cheer on the Spurs.
Brandon, don't give in to the pressure of J. Mike. He lives in Ohio. He roots for Jacksonville. He roots for San Antonio. And I'm not one to talk because I live in New York and I root for Oakland. And by the way, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan because I was in high school when the greatest basketball player of all time was playing in Chicago. And growing up in that era, I loved Scottie Pippen. Oh, I mean Michael Jordan. But no, I am a Bulls fan. So you and me, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
I like that cowboy thing I got going on there. Bro.
Hey. We won Sunday night against the Eagles. That's all that matters. We don't got to talk about last week.
We all have our downfalls in life.
Yes.
That's just the way it goes. But
wait, you guys lost to the Jets, right?
Sal, I said we're not going to talk about last week. Can we move on?
Jets. Oh, you guys should have brought an exorcist with you.
It's cute how everyone thought the Jets were good for a week, right?
I got to tell you that Scott Atkins, I don't know if he watches this, but you guys all know who Scott Atkins is. He posted after they beat the Cowboys the schedule. It says, is there any way that the Jets don't go 11-5? How can a Jet fan, a lifelong Jet fan, get that fooled by one game against a mostly injured Dallas team?
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it really just shows you that. And I'm sorry, Brandon, but it shows you that Dallas is just not as good as people thought. Their wins have come against some really bad teams, Philly included, I think. Yeah.
All that matters is we're in the NFC East, so it's okay. These 3 wins will be enough to get to the playoffs.
Hey, the Patriots are in the AFC East. We still don't use that excuse. We still. Win 12 games every year.
You may not use that excuse, but every non-Patriot fan in the country uses that as the excuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Of course.
Right. As a guy living in New York, every Jet fan that calls, you should just play against the AFC. Well, you're in the AFC.
So does the Jets.
Morons. You're one of those 3 teams. Hey, J. Mike, you want to run the show or should I just talk over?
No, listen. You all know the rules of this. There's no point in me running it. There's no point in me trying to keep my hands on it, mold it, shape it. This is
week 7, and the Patriots have already run all 3. They won all 3 road division games, and it's week 7.
I think the question becomes this: when did not the question, a question that I have? When did Sony Michel become LeGarrette Blount? Was that this week, or was that like he's always been that way? Or
did you watch
what? I'm just curious.
Last year? I mean, all he did was score touchdowns throughout the playoffs. I mean, he's not LeGarrette Blount because he's actually an explosive running back that has literally no place to run right now. LeGarrette Blount chose not to go through holes.
I choose not to run.
LeGarrette Blount would look at the space in front of him and say, "There's 5 guys over here, empty space over here. Yep, I'm going that way towards the 5 guys, and I'm going to run them over."
I just don't know what to do at this point when it comes to the Patriots. Obviously, I feel like tons of news obviously on the day in terms of injuries and everything else. But even if we stay and at this point, I feel like it's almost the homerism of the brand, if you will. But here we are with a couple of Pats fans. So we might as well get into this while we're here, just so we can get out of the way. And we don't have to come back to this the rest of the evening. And Kevin, you can get that smug look off your face. So we've got Sanu going, obviously, to the Patriots for a 2nd-round pick. We've got N'Keal Harry, signs of him practicing, coming off the IR soon. We've got Tom Brady with his Infinity Gauntlet looking invincible. We've got Sony Michel, now LeGarrette Blount. We've got Philip Dorsett the second coming of Tyreek Hill, apparently. We've got a lot of things working in the Patriots' favor right now. Let me ask you this. Who is the – and I didn't even mention Julian Edelman. Who's the one Patriots piece, if you had to choose one for dynasty teams, who's the one Patriot piece that you want?
Brandon Bolden.
Come on. Oh, man. Look, it depends on what kind of team you have. If you're talking long-term dynasty, I still like Sony Michel. I think that their offensive line is going to be better. If Devlin comes back next year and they have a fullback, or they find someone else to play fullback, he's still gonna be a successful running back. You're probably not going to see. I think they're going to probably move on from Burkhead next year. James White still has some money due and could very well be on the roster. But I think Sony Michel's the guy in dynasty that you want. I think Edelman has a place on teams, and Brady have places on teams as well. If you're going for championships, they're not going away. So those guys, you can still have them in dynasty. They're not dead, and they're going to be useful this year and next year. And but Sony's the guy from a long-term dynasty perspective in my mind. I love N'Keal Harry as well. I think that this, if you're counting on him for this year, you're in trouble. But I'm curious what Zach thinks about Harry and what he expects from him, next year as opposed to this year, because I think we can all agree there's not going to be much this year, even when he does come back.
I think Zach has us muted.
No, I think he has technical difficulties, so he'll hear my question in 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm having serious lag. I'm interested to hear Zach and then nothing, and then making fun of me for yeah, here I am. But I'm gonna jump off. You were talking Sony Michel, and for me in Dynasty, it's N'Keal Harry. And not that I don't like Sony Michel, but I think that type of running back, you're going to be able to get a few kicks at the can at that. Next year, there are always some guys who come in who, let's face it, I love Sony Michel, but he hasn't been utilized as a 3-down back. And so you're going to get kicks at those types of players. But with N'Keal Harry, what I really liked about him coming out of college is that he was very, very good 12 yards and in. And I know there were some knocks at him not separating against Stephon Gilmore in preseason. I don't know if you've noticed, but nobody has separated from Gilmore at all in the regular season either, including Juju. So it's not that I don't hold too much stock in, but I think that they'll be able to use him as kind of a possession receiver between the 20s. And then N'Keal, this really great ability to high point, and he can be that big red zone receiver that you haven't really seen since Gronk was Gronk a couple of years ago. And so that is what I'm excited for with N'Keal Harry in the future. And I think right now you can get him pretty cheap because he's been on IR and because nobody's talking about him. And even with the Sanu news, I think that's just another kind of it pushes N'Keal Harry back further. And so I'm buying into him.
Was it possible that you don't want any Patriot players in the dynasty because it seemingly changes so often on a weekly basis? I mean, Michelle was on a pretty nice run here, for lack of a better term. But yeah, it just, especially with running backs and wide receiver in the offense, it just seems obviously quarterback has been consistent for so long and tight end did, and now it's not, tight end's non-existent at all. If I could get good value back, I traded my own. No, I think I have 2 N'Keal Harry shares, but I did trade one of them the week that Melvin Gordon was coming back. I don't know that that's looked so good so far, but I think it will be a good deal. It wasn't a straight up deal. There was some other parts and draft picks included, but yeah, it's just always some kind of shenanigans. Like, for instance, Brandon Bolden basically splitting out a wide receiver almost all night last night and being used well. It's just the Patriots will do that almost to mock everybody, and I think he's doing it even to mock us fantasy football players. He's just that good, Bill Belichick.
The question I have, Zach, is I mean, I think N'Keal Harry's value is pretty low compared to what he was, obviously, right now. But do you think that I think your buying window is not closing very soon, right? Like, I think you still have time to buy him. I think you can wait on it. I don't know that you need to buy him this year. You could probably get him in the offseason and still pay a relatively cheap price, especially if you're talking about 2020 picks as we get closer to the draft and people start to get their eyes on things. So I guess from a right now standpoint, I'd still want value. I'd still want Michelle because the value is going to be higher in the immediate future.
And that's fair. I just see that right at this second, N'Keal Harry's been out of people's minds. He's been a frustration, and it's going to ramp back up. I mean, yes, the 2020 picks are going to pick up value, but also at the end of this year, you're going to start hearing stuff coming out of the Patriots, where, N'Keal Harry was their stud pick this past year, and they're going to talk about how they're going to utilize him. So his value is going to pick back up. And so right now, I mean, I'm not averse to owning both of them. Like, I'm not saying that Sony Michel is a bad play, just that right now the value of N'Keal Harry is kind of cratered, especially with the injury, the lackluster preseason, and then the Mohamed Sanu trade. So you're at a valley right now.
Oh, what a surprise! The other dummy has the same opinion.
They're sharing a brain.
Wait! I changed my mind. Then I changed my mind.
J-Mike, why don't you click up with Trader Joe wrote about a possible upset that could happen.
I like that. Oh. to the homie, Mr. Steal Your Girl himself, FF Steal Your Girl, Trader Joe. What happens when the Browns shock the world and win in New England on Sunday?
The fact
are you going to that game, Kevin?
I will not because of the traveling over the next couple of weeks. I gave my tickets up to be a good husband and father and spend some extra time with the family this weekend. So
very good.
I will not go, and I am confident, very confident, that I will not miss the biggest upset in the world. The fact that you have to say "shock the world" when you're talking about it is what
shook
tells
up
you
the
that it's not
world.
going to happen.
I have DLF's ADP up, and it's something that I haven't probably looked at for about a month. Usually in the season, I lose track of that to some degree, but I find this interesting. So N'Keal Harry, number 66 overall in DLF ADP. I've got a couple names around him, and because you all thought that he was likely the guy to own in New England, let me ask this: would you rather have N'Keal Harry or Darius Geis? Dynasty, and everybody can weigh in here.
I'll take N'Keal Harry for sure.
Yeah, I'll take Harry as well.
Yeah.
This hurts, but I'm taking N'Keal Harry too.
Okay, we got a sweep. N'Keal Harry versus Mike Williams.
Oh, I'm Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams is edging towards his breakout.
That's tough for me. I'm sticking with Harry, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stick with Harry too. I can't trust Mike Williams to stay healthy for a full season.
You shut your little mouth.
Man, and the air yards are with you, Sal. And I talked about that last week on the Dummy Show. That as much as I hate and to admit defeat potentially on a Mike Williams evaluation, I think he's going to. I think the breakout is coming. But I'll still stay with N'Keal because I think he could be the one in New England going forward.
Okay. Jumping up several spots here.
By the way, wait, J-Mike, before you do that, I got to say that Sal is clearly he has Kyle's issue that he has an ownership bias there. There's no question about it in my mind. I guarantee you he has ownership bias.
I own Mike Williams in one league, Capitalist Picks 3. And
league you're trying for a championship.
I traded him in other leagues when his value was high before he dipped with the injuries. But no, I just feel like Listen, I like Harry. Harry can play both ways. We discussed this, Kevin, back on Fantasy Football Funhouse preseason. He could go and make that. He's not as fast as Randy Moss, but he has the ability to make that Randy Moss type of catch downfield, and he has the ability to take a pass right off the line and go through an entire defense. So I think he does have all the things you want. It's the New England part of it that bothers me. Now, Julian Edelman has been able to remain a top flight fantasy wide receiver when healthy in New England. I can't buy into anybody in New England.
This one's about to be fun, and I'm going way up the board here.
Julio Jones,
N'Keal Harry, or Chris Carson.
Huh?
Oh, I'll take N'Keal Harry only because of the coach in Seattle. He can tell you all he wants, how much he likes certain people, but he could change just as quickly as Belichick can on certain players. So I don't trust that Chris Carson is any definite part of the future in Seattle.
I don't know. The guy fumbled 3 games in a row, and they stuck with him.
Who are they going to put in? Penny?
I'm just saying. I mean, at this point, you got to kind of believe.
Are you angling for Procise? Is this a goddamn Procise?
I love TJ Procise, and I'm not ashamed.
Did you jump up off the couch when he had his carry for 9 yards this past week?
Yes. Riley Bymaster and I virtually high-fived.
Virtually.
See, I think this is one of the types of trades that I like to make, unless I am absolutely crushing it and contending for a championship. Swinging a running back to get a wide receiver that I think has potential to be, a top 24 wide receiver with top 12 potential. That's the type of move that I like to make. Although I'd like to see a little bit more from N'Keal Harry rather than bet blind. But if we're going to have to, I'll go with Harry.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Zach here. I think, and Sal, I think Carson, it's not guaranteed that he's going to be in Seattle's future plans. Whereas at least we know N'Keal is going to get a shot in New England. And I believe he adds that top 12 potential. So I'm going to place, even though we haven't seen anything from him yet, I will place my bet with N'Keal because I think he has that potential to do something big. And I'm just, whatever Pete Carroll says, I'm very concerned. So
I'm taking Harry too, by the way. I don't think I'm knocking the usage of Carson anymore. I came into the season not believing in Carson, and I'm done not believing. The guy, they give him the ball and he produces with it. So
Peter Howard is screaming Rashad Penny, though.
yeah,
apparently not loud enough to make it to Seattle.
Yeah, he is. And this is a really good question from your other half as well, Zach. Kyle asks, what are you offering in picks for Harry right now? Because I know that lots of people, specifically with this 2020 class that's coming up, we've heard quite often that it does not. This upcoming class is just so far in ahead of last year's group. That's what we've heard a lot of. So we don't even know where he'd fall in this group here. So I'm curious, what exactly, either in picks or what kind of players are we moving up, or are we moving to get Harry? Because I just went all the way up to 20 spots above where N'Keal is on DLF, and most of us were still choosing N'Keal Harry in that instance. So I got him all the way up to 46. So that's right behind Tyler Boyd, David Montgomery, Zach Ertz, T.Y. Hilton, Evan Ingram, and you might even be able to argue that you'd move him up even higher from that point. So I'm curious what you guys are giving up in this instance.
David Montgomery is an imposter. Hey, I'm not. What did the coach say today? I know we need to run the ball more. I'm not dumb. No, I'm pretty sure you're dumb.
7 carries, man. 7 total carries for that team this week. That's just bad.
Oh, don't get me on Nagy. We're gonna get way off topic.
So here's the question. I'd like to say that I'm giving up 2 seconds. I don't know if anyone will take it. So I think you got to go to the first, but I think you can get him for a first. And I mean, I'm probably still okay with that if it's a late first. If I'm looking at a late first,
it maybe, I don't know. There are some serious both running backs and receivers. If and you don't know yet if everyone is coming out, and there's still a long way to go, but I I had Tyler Johnson, who will come out in this class, ahead of N'Keal Harry when I was watching film for the 2019 class. And I've seen a lot of places where Tyler Johnson is not in the top 5 wide receivers. And I know that there are 5 or 6 running backs that I like. So if I can't get N'Keal Harry throwing seconds at him, I'm probably going to abstain and hang on to my 2020 firsts.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the camp that coming last year. I mean, we know last year's class wasn't very special. So even though I shouldn't have, I had N'Keal as my 101. So I think I'm still comfortable right now throwing a late first at him. But like Kevin said, if I can package up 2 seconds or maybe a second and third, I'm all in.
Wow, a second and a third, that'd be a steal.
Yeah.
Well, the host is on mute.
One of the moves, yeah, I'm sitting here watching it blink and I'm trying to click it and I can't push it. One of the moves, let me ask you guys this, and I don't know if this is quote unquote savvy or not, but would this be one of those times where with the first round picks glowing as bright as they do, and I know that Kyle's a proponent of this as well, and that the picks have their greatest value as when we get closer and closer to the draft. Would this be an instance where even as bright as they're glowing right now, could I send the first for 2020? And do you think I can get Harry and a second back? Because if so, I think that's one of those things where, like, that's the play.
And that's the Kevin kick the can down the road. Wait until closer to your rookie draft and try to make that move. That may be the actual play. That is. See, this is J Mike. This is why I am locked in to the blitz every Tuesday morning. Like you ask the questions that need to be asked. You don't overlook the things that I'm missing trying to see the long term and yeah, I get too cute sometimes and man, you keep me grounded. I love it.
Zach being too cute said no whatever.
Come on, side profile. Here you go.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Face the front.
What up, Josh Jordan? Double J's in the building in the chat. And he tells us exactly how he feels. Exactly how he feels about Coach Nagy there. That's pretty good.
Anytime you can make Cordarrelle Patterson your RB1, you have to do it.
I like what Josh wrote. He's trying to sell his DJ Shark shares for Harry shares, which is, good. You might have missed a boat on that, right? Hopefully you didn't. Maybe you can still find somebody, because I had this feeling, and it could still change, that D.D. Westbrook would rear his head at some point in his season, and it looks like he did this past week. It could go back and forth with both of them. Maybe they both stay relevant, but it's just always been a thing in that offense. It's never been one wide receiver for any length of time, regardless of who the quarterback is there. So if you could get Harry back in return for Shark and counter on the early season success, that's great.
One of the interesting things, and me being the Jaguars fan that I am, and the fact that we got to go to the game and I got to see the Jags in person for the first time, a couple things I do want to know. DJ Chark in real life, like real time, he's different. Like he's his ability on the field is different. He's special. D.D. Westbrook is too, because he came down with just a sick catch near the sideline at one point, basically going up and taking it away from his safety. But going into these last couple weeks, Westbrook was still even with, or right around even with Chark on targets. But the thing that we had that really bad taste in our mouth from a few weeks ago, or early in the season, when we saw Westbrook dropping touchdowns, and I feel like a lot of us soured on Westbrook when we saw the rise of Chark. So I think that was kind of the window if you wanted to get back in on DD, like, hey, this is it. Actually, today in Trade Addict 6, I was able to, and I'm curious what you all think of this. I sent Devonta Freeman, whom I love dearly, and a second in 2020 for D.D. Westbrook and Preston Williams, because I wanted back in on D.D., and I love D.D. So, but anyway, all that to say, Dede, I think, was always even in targets, and even now he's only got 6 more targets, but he's got 1 less reception than Chark. But I'm curious how their usage moving forward, if Gardner is going to be average or if he's going to play over his head. I'm curious how that levels out throughout the season. But anyway, that kind of overrides the Harry point. But I had to get that in about the Jaguars.
You know, it brings up, and I spoke about this on both my show last week and another show that I appeared on last week, it's similar to the running back touches in Denver. The touches rather were a lot closer than anybody realized going into last week between Royce Freeman and Lindsey. And in fact, they had identical target numbers at 26, and Freeman had more receptions by 2. Lindsey was ahead by about 20 touches, but if you went game by game, they were closer. Maybe he got 3 or 4 more, and it totaled up to the 20. But it's just that Lindsey had done so much more with his touches and scored the touchdowns. And last week we saw Royce Freeman just come to the forefront there. So, yeah, it's important that you don't give up on guys just because you see one guy's performing better than the other. Look at the target volume, the touch volume, and what guys are getting. Yeah. That's a bigger indicator of if that guy's still a part of the offense. If the coach is still believing in that guy and he's a part of the offense, just because you're not seeing it doesn't mean it's not going to come to fruition. So,
obviously, you've been listening to the Saturday pregame show because I've been talking about that for weeks.
Do you do a show on Saturdays? I know that I run the Twitter account and I post it. I just don't know that I listen to it.
You know, it's funny, J. Mike, you talking about the Jacksonville wide receivers, and I just it's starkingly or alarmingly close to when they had last time they had 2 very good young wide receivers that were putting up good numbers and with marginal quarterback play. And then those 2 players went to other teams, and, you know, one's okay and one is non-existent. So it's just weird.
You're going to let him get away with – I know Kyle's in the chat saying Allen Robinson. He made me acknowledge that Robinson is on pace for a 1,200-yard season this year.
I know. It just doesn't feel like it, does it?
Yeah, it's because True Bortles is there. I mean, that's what do you want?
Yeah. As someone who owns A-Rob, it does not feel like he's on pace for 1,200 yards. It's not pretty. I guess it's going to get there.
Hey, listen. Yeah, Allen Robinson's a whole nother thing. I don't even want to get into that. I love Allen Robinson, obviously, but sheesh, Trubisky. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. Moving on, I do also want to talk about the trade that happened today. I feel like I don't necessarily want to just become current event central here on the open bar, but a lot of stuff happened today. This was a big day in terms of things that went on. We had Emmanuel Sanders go to the 49ers, which I think he's by far and away the best wide receiver on that roster, probably has been over the last, I don't know, at least 3 years, maybe more. I'm not sure, who even compares to him, but between that, and we'll separate this next part of news because I want to talk about the IR as well. But let's stay here with Emmanuel Sanders. What's the fallout? How do we feel regarding Sanders at this point, being someone that, I don't know, is in line to be able to lead that group, I'd imagine, in everything except for obviously Kittle, but just the receivers in general. What do we think of Sanders moving forward?
Well, I like the move for Sanders. I like the move for from a fantasy standpoint, and he's a guy who I was able to get late in quite a few places this year, including the Scott Fish Bowl, because there was that hesitancy to thinking he would be able to come back that quickly from that injury. But I took a chance, and I had him in a couple of dynasty places. Listen, there's nobody consistent at wide receiver in San Francisco this season at all, whether it be injury, whether it be they switch to being mostly a running team at this point. I really think that he sits right in as the number 1 wide receiver in that offense, and you could just plug him in every week and be comfortable with the numbers you're going to get.
I agree with you, Sal, that Sanders is probably the best wide receiver in San Francisco now. But our approaches are going to be different to this, because what I'm going to do is, before he plays a snap, any place that I own him in Dynasty, I'm going to be looking down through rosters of teams in my league and looking for teams that only have 2 real solid wide receivers and see if I can float him and get something, get a second, get a third and a fourth, get something for him back, because I think this is the last sell window. And I'm really, really hesitant to hitch my wagon to a receiver who changes teams. And it's hard enough to do it in the preseason, and come to a new team. And we're seeing that with Odell Beckham. We see that kind of year and again with wide receivers changing teams. Now trying to change midstream, I think right now I'm getting out. And it's not that I don't like Emmanuel Sanders. I've loved the production I've got from him so far. I'm just hesitant that he'll be able to get on the same page with Garoppolo and produce.
I definitely don't hate that. I'm sorry, Kevin. I definitely don't hate that, Zach. I think absolutely this is the time to sell. I mean, he's a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver.
Yeah, 33. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's definitely the move, Zach, because I don't think this little bump in value is your chance, right? Because he's not going to go up in value again. It's highly unlikely that he goes to San Francisco and tears it up. It's more likely that he goes to San Francisco and is an average startable wide receiver, which is fine. You're not getting good value for that. So right now you might have good value just on the fact that he got traded.
I'm still waiting for that Pierre Garçon 100-catch season.
And real quick, and like Sal said, in the offseason, in some places, Emmanuel Sanders was basically free. I mean, he was a 30-plus wide receiver coming off an ACL tear. No one knew it, and Joe Flacco was his quarterback. Nobody knew what to expect. So the fact that now he's in San Francisco, like Zach said, if I can get a third from him, I'm taking it and not thinking twice about it. I think this is the best chance we'll get to sell him, because I think he's clearly the best wide receiver in San Francisco, but like you said, I think he's gonna be a serviceable wide receiver. He's not gonna be a game breaker.
Any of you guys in a Supremacy Dynasty? I got Emmanuel Sanders for sale.
I am. I am, but I'm not interested. I appreciate that.
Damn you, Zachary.
Also in that league, also not interested.
If you guys have a chance to go look at my roster, and I'm either 6. I think I'm 6-1 in that league with the most atrocious,
the least points, right?
It's the most atrocious roster you have ever seen in your life. I am 6-1. I have 1 startable quarterback on a weekly basis, and then 1 starting running back on a weekly basis, and then I start like 7 wide receivers.
It's pretty gross.
It's so bad. I actually sold a 2nd-round pick for Ryan Tannehill today, so I could start a 2nd quarterback.
Yeah, I'm in 4th place in that league and leading the league in points. So
yeah,
it's ugly.
Man, oh man. I've been avoiding this as long as I could, and this makes my heart really sad. Kerryon Johnson. Yeah. Punch to the gut, punch to the ego, everything. Here we are, and we are looking at Kerryon Johnson on the IR. We've got Ty Johnson waiting in the wings. We've got people and whispers in the bushes about how Zach Zinner's coming back to Detroit to save us all. Zach Zinner versus everybody. We've got J.D. McKissick saying, hey, look at me. I can get things done too. We've got Theo Riddick on Denver's IR, who is just, you know what? I think I can come back for one more dance here. All sorts of fun being had in Detroit right now, except
He's going to be Jay Ajayi. He's going to come out of nowhere. He's going to come out of nowhere to lead Detroit in touches.
Why not sign DJ Anderson, who was there in the preseason earlier in the year? And I say that because, yes, he's sitting on one of my dynasty rosters.
He probably put on another 30 pounds since then.
Right up the middle.
I have Jay Ajayi sitting on a deep dynasty roster too, so that's what I'm hoping for.
As do I.
Let me ask you guys this question. I was offered this today in a league. I won't say which league it is because a couple of you guys are in it. As Kevin, you know, I'm Derrick Henry guy, but I'm not going to challenge this year for probably even making the playoffs, let alone a championship. And I was offered Kerryon Johnson straight up for Derrick Henry. And the person's saying, oh, you're rebuilding. Would you do it? So I turned it down. because Derrick Henry's still young enough that it's not like he's an old guy. And I'm a bigger Derrick Henry fan. But what do you guys think about that? Do you think Derrick Henry's current situation is sustainable? And do you think that I would have been better off as a rebuilding team to take the younger running back?
I think you can do better. I think you can do better than a running back. I would target a wide receiver that, if you're really not competing, target a wide receiver that'll increase in value as opposed to be a depleting asset.
Yeah, and if you want a running back, I would try and go get a lower level running back, a tier below Henry, and pick up a pick in addition, or maybe another wide receiver. But yeah, I think the move is to get a wide receiver when you rebuild.
All right, well, just for those of you who paid attention at home, a Canadian person offered me that deal.
Let me ask you this: Do you all share hair care tips? I'm just curious if it's the same Canadian person. I think
we do. Yes, okay. We do use the same head shiner.
Our favorite. Our favorite FFRX, but I'll leave it there.
I thought you were going to say favorite Canadian, and I was going to say, is there really in it? Do we really have to have a favorite Canadian? But
no, we don't have to. I feel like I've brought this up so many times, but I don't know that I've thought as much about a specific topic as I have this. And it's this idea of running backs, and I think I've come to this. And let me know what you guys think of this, because I've chewed on this for a long time. And Jake Anderson, I'm not sure if you guys saw here, with Kerryon Johnson, he says, I sold him before the news broke today for Carson and John Brown in picks 3. That's winning right there. That's good stuff.
Makes me angry as a heavy contender in that league that he can do something like that. So
yeah, he
and also, by the way, Jake, I don't need to bick my head. I have hair. I don't know if you can see it. There is, I'm good.
Well, you sound an awful lot like me when we first started doing a podcast together 4 years ago, Kevin. An awful lot like me when you guys used to break my balls about being a bald guy. I used to tell you guys, if I let it grow it, I actually have hair. See? It's there, right? I don't know where J Mike has me in the corner covered by the stupid logo, but there is actually hair there. But what the man is saying is, if you're going to go, stop looking like you're halfway there and just go all the way.
Just embrace it. Embrace it.
Let it go. We just brought Zach back to Disney.
The magic of StreamYard, and just like that, the logo's gone, so everyone can get the full 360 degrees of Sal Lito's
Please,
dome.
God, put the logo back up.
This idea with the running backs, what in the world? All right, fair enough. When it comes to running backs,
Joe Rogan look.
It's pretty spot on. When it comes to the running backs, I think that I've come to the place where I'm likely not going to be owning or rostering, I should say, many running backs after their third year, and I've kind of come to this after a lot of, like I said, thoughts and randomly some sleepless nights where this is going through my head for some reason. I have no idea. But in another league, I ended up selling Kamara for Chris Godwin and a couple of firsts. I got so in all these places, I'm trying to get out from a lot of these guys who have been fantastic for us. But we keep watching these. I don't know if it's an age cliff. I don't know what it is, but I don't even want to fool with these contracts, the contract issues, the holdouts, the injuries, all those things. Like, I want to be able to get out from any and all of these guys at max value if I can. That's my hope. And Brian Harr in the chat, he's at the end of the day, roster Saquon. It's worth it. That's you can't hate that, Brian. That's a great call. What up, Brian? But what are your all's thoughts? Or do you all have anything that you've been chewing on over the fantasy season that's really changed the way you've thought about things or just guided the way that you've gone about this 2019 season?
Well, let me ask you this, Jay Mike, before anyone gets into their stuff. I mean, how do you do that when you're in? I mean, if you're in anything close to contention, how do you trade a guy like Kamara or CMC or these guys that are coming towards that spot where you want to maximize the value? I mean, look, I'm the value guy. That's how I play fantasy football, is mostly based on value. But at a certain point, you got to get points on the board. And
if anyone, I thought you would appreciate that.
I love the move. I love the thought process, but I also think sometimes we get caught up in trying to maximize that effort and not looking through the lens of, I need those guys on my roster too. And some guys you're going to have on your roster, and they're going to get to the point where you're going to lose value on them. Like their value is going to be gone, but you've used the value. It's a depreciating asset, but you've gotten what you needed out of them.
And that's, I think, the you've used the value. There's a fine line between, constantly kicking the can forward and building for the future and doing that and winning, which I don't know. I mean, I do know about you guys because I feel like you guys are all in to win leagues. That's why we play. But you see some people build and build and build and build, which is fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that. I love looking forward. I love, hitting the rookie drafts and doing all that scouting. But at the end of the day, winning it's nice. When I made a trade last year where I ended up acquiring Zeke and I traded away. And this is, I mean, looking back at it, you can, tell me I was wrong because I traded Dalvin Cook and I traded Amari Cooper to get Zeke, but it won me the league last year. And I don't care. I'll rebuild. I'll figure something else out down the road, but that won the league. And so there's a fine line between, trading and getting value and having guys on your team and winning. And I saw Jake just said in the chat, play like it's maximize value until you maximize your production. And he also said play dynasty like it's redraft. I don't quite subscribe to that, but if you're talking those top 4 or 5 guys who are just incredible difference makers, Kamara, CMC, Zeke, Saquon, those guys who give you such an edge over everybody else, I want that unless that's the only asset I have, and then I use it to rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you want to maximize at the clip, but at the same time, you have to go roster by roster. I know it's kind of a cop out. In one of my leagues, my team was on the fringe, and I had Alvin Kamara, and I'm a big Devonta Adams fan, so I traded Kamara for Devonta Adams and a 2020 second. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like, you know what? I got a 2020 pick, which, I mean, 2020 picks are what's in, and it was right before Devonta Adams got injured. But I believe Devonta Adams still has multiple years of our wide receiver 1 production left with Kamara. While he has been spectacular, we don't know if he's going to hit that cliff like everyone else is. So, I mean, it is definitely tough, though, Jay-Mike. I agree with you on
that. And Kevin, let me and I'm glad you asked that because it helped me chew on it a little bit more. I basically implemented this probably most in the Trade Addict 6 league that I'm in. So shout out to Russ, shout out to Brian over at golly, why am I tripping? Why can't I think of their podcast right now? Golly, Trade Addicts.
The Trade Addict pod.
As I sat here and said the actual name of the league, I'm tripping. This stupid mosquito flying around my house.
It's
Sporting News Radio with Brian Haar.
Yeah.
Nobody really likes Russ. That's what it comes down to. By the way, another person whose wife I met also outkicked this coverage.
I mean, even Brian doesn't really like Russ.
Russ doesn't like
everybody.
Russ. If you've ever met Russ, he doesn't like himself. He's struggling.
Right. So let me walk through this. So to start the season, Kevin, and this is kind of, I'll bring this back around here in just a second. So bear with me. Start the league. I've got a team that I think is going to be in contention from the jump. I'm sitting on guys like Hopkins and Diggs at wide receiver. And I've got running backs, Fournette, Carrion, Kamara, Devonta Freeman. I'm feeling good, right? Then the season starts, and all of a sudden, like, nobody's playing up to their potential on my team. It gets really frustrating at first, and I'm thinking maybe if I can get some value, not just necessarily picks, but if I can also amass some players along with picks, I can see if this team still has any sort of a run left in it for this season, or if it's a case where I've got enough value to where my offseason allows me a lot of flexibility to figure out my next steps, or at least accumulate currency. So with that, so the string of trades went something like this. Maybe 3-ish weeks ago, I traded Carrion for DJ Moore and Darwin Thompson. That was the first trade, and I just start kind of putting back these valuable pieces per se. I move Fournette. I move on from Fournette, and I get a first, a third, and Will Dissly. And this is when he's still doing really well in the tight end premium, so I'm feeling good about it. Then the Kamara trade, it's actually happened with Brian Harr. Brian Harr is sitting on a team that has Saquon, and he's all in for this year. He's like, I'm ready. I have Kamara. I said, okay, this is one of my last couple running backs. And just to avoid the holdout drama, anything that might arise, as well as the massive sometimes fall in their value when they get hurt, I just didn't want to have Kamara and then there be some sort of cliff because Breeze is gone and Bridgewater isn't great, or all these things that might happen. So I move him. And so I move Kamara and the second in 2020. And in return, I get Godwin, Deion Kane, and 2 firsts in 2020. So, yeah, I think that was a trade. So all of a sudden now I've got a wide receiver room of Hopkins, Diggs, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin. And like I just told you guys, I just sold Devonta Freeman. I got D.D. Westbrook, Preston Williams. So my wide receiver room all of a sudden looks really good with a lot of room to grow for the future. And I've got all these picks now to be able to play with and do different things with. And I don't want to, and I keep thinking if I can pay in the draft, if I can go and try to hammer running backs in the drafts and see what sticks there, I feel much better about getting that early production from them and hoping that, and I think Jake said this to me, Jake Anderson said this to me a while back, and it stuck really heavy. Stop trying to pay for what's now and start looking for and paying less for what's next. And that was one of the things with Philip Lindsay, because we were both big fans of his. But he told me that, and I never forgot that last season. He said, stop that and start looking for what's next. So that was my impetus behind it. And I think I like the idea of not trying to deal with the age curve, the production issue, or not production issues, just the injuries and all the other stuff. And let me get these guys who are fresh out and figure out what happens from there. So you might get stuck with David Montgomery in crappy situations, which sucks. But then you might fool around turning into Josh Jacobs, where he's getting all this work and he's likely going to end the season as an RB1-ish. So that's what I've literally been thinking about for probably 2 months now. Sorry, that was a long-winded way to say what kind of happened, but I just wanted you guys to get a glimpse of what was going on between my ears.
And that's almost exactly how I personally try to build, where I will trade running backs for receivers and draft running backs, wash, rinse, repeat, because you get that quick return. You know what you've got in a running back. If he's worth the salt, if it's an early round running back in terms of a dynasty rookie draft, you know right away what you've got. There aren't very many guys who are coming around their third year and all of a sudden producing. You get guys who come in and start and do their thing. And with this draft class coming in, J. Mike, if you're piling up 2021st and you're looking at guys like, Jonathan Taylor and Etienne and Eno Benjamin and DeAndre Swift, and they're just ad nauseum, they're right down the line. And this is a really exciting class to be able to do it. I kind of did something similar in my home league with that 2017 class, and it paid off. I won a championship and have now kind of kicked off, and I've got some picks for this next year. But yeah, that's how I really prefer to build is draft running backs in rookie drafts, trade them for established or quasi-established wide receivers. There's your Godwin and Westbrook and that sort of thing, and then keep on keeping on.
Well, in that, I mean, if you can do it and do it correctly, you're always going to have working capital, right? Because you're getting those extra draft picks, and if you do miss on the running backs, you should have a healthy stable of wide receivers that theoretically you could flip for some extra draft picks and or running back if you need to. So, I mean, you're not going to get that. The one thing there is, unless you get them in the draft, you're not getting that McCaffrey type season or that, you know what I mean? And that's the part that, that's the one part of it that I don't like is because I when I get that stud, I want that guy on my roster, and I will pretty much they almost become untradeable for me because of the value they add. And that's where I get stuck. It can help you build a championship, but it can also be to your detriment. So, but
even though studs have been or are short-lived, there are far fewer LaShawn McCoys who have 10 years of production than there are other. I mean, even look at the top 10 running backs 3 years ago. You look at Todd Gurley, you look at David Johnson, you look, and you're just like, oh, these guys are going to be studs forever. They're young. And now all of a sudden you've got Todd Gurley with a degenerative knee issue. You've got David Johnson, who has been hurt for 3 years, and you don't know what's going on right now. They just signed Alfred Morris. There's some things happening.
What does that say for the other two guys that they brought in, Jay Ajayi and they signed Alfred Morris?
But that's what I'm saying. We sit there and say, oh, Christian McCaffrey is a lock for the next 5-6 years as a stud, and I think he is. But there's a lot less security to that than what we perceive.
I agree. I know I'm 99% sure you're going to get 2 more years out of them, and those 2 years are huge difference makers. So, and that's where I come from. But I've always been sadly, and to my own detriment in certain areas, I've always been a running back guy. I like the instant production. I like having them on my roster because I think it gives you flexibility elsewhere. And I cobble together wide receivers, and I think you can get luckier sometimes hitting on those wide receivers when you just take a bunch of shots at them. So they may take a while to pan out, but I don't know. But you guys are making a lot of sense with like I said, building up that that stable of wide receivers to use as capital and constantly drafting running backs. It just makes a lot more sense that way because you get that instant production.
And there's something to be said, at least it feels like because like you said, Kevin, that you're like you said, with your CMCs and those, the only way that you're getting them is in the draft, right? Or if you trade for them before they just start obliterating everything. The I guess the issue that I keep coming back to is I just don't want to have, and maybe if you're in a position where you're close to a title or you're pushing for a title of one of the top teams, maybe I'm not sure that will be the play to just start unloading. Oh, year 4 running back, whatever. I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but in the event that you're in the middle of the pack or you're not sure about your team or things of that nature, I think those are the perfect times when you extract the value and what Jake said earlier, maximize the value until you can't maximize it anymore. He said maximize value until you've maximized your production. And I just don't ever want it to be a case where if those guys are on my team that they either have to die there or I have to sell them for less than what was the peak of everything. And I think that this is a function, and I blame you, Kevin. This is a function of you and your Dynasty Wall Street podcast that I listen to every week between Zach beating over my head that I need running backs who are pass catchers, and Brian Harr and Russ always talking about not paying up for running backs in trades. I'm blaming a combination of all three of you, all three to blame for my thought process there. So yeah, take that.
I knew somehow you'd bring it back to being my fault. Sal is a master at that. So
it's so easy when it's right there.
Man, all right. What else do you guys want to hit on while we're here? Anything going on with your teams?
I heard this was a bar. I thought we'd be hitting on chicks, but turns out it's just a bunch of bald guys.
All bald guys all the time.
Bald guys, and another guy doesn't want to show his face, Rojas.
Hey, my face isn't working right now, but I come from a family that's balding, so in about 5 years, I'll be right with you guys. Don't worry about it.
It comes quicker than you think, my friend.
I would say we got a head start on you by quite a bit, I think.
It does. Real quick, J-Mike, I just want to give you a round of applause for delaying my appearance on the open bar for a week just so I can get eliminated in the eliminator, the open bar eliminator. I felt like this was done on purpose. I really do.
This was your concession speech appearance.
Yep.
Kevin, I have no idea if we are still in the fantasy football funhouse eliminated. Did we get eliminated?
That's a good question. I will check right now.
You drafted that team, so I'm going to blame you immediately.
I think you guys are okay.
We were still in it up last week. I have not checked it this week yet.
While Kevin checks on that,
we are still alive.
Brandon, I just want to let you know, Rojas, that was not the case at all. Last week, we had. That's what you're going to go with. No, for those that don't know, Rojas, he's been riding with us here in the open bar for quite some time, and we had planned for him to come on for over a month or so. We had it locked in, but we had, obviously, life comes and hits you sometimes, and you have to deal with that. So we we pushed it back by a week, thinking that we were no big deal, and of course the week that we push it back, he gets eliminated. So who was on your squad, real quick, Rojas? Where did it all go wrong for you?
Okay, so for those of you who didn't know, the open bar eliminator wasn't actually an auction. So my mentality was, I'm going to pay it for quarterbacks. So my quarterbacks, you ready for this quarterback room? Drew Brees, yeah, and Andrew Luck. Those were my two studs going into. I'm thinking Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, and I threw a flyer on Josh Rosen. That was my quarterback room. I'm surprised I lost this one.
What could possibly go wrong?
Right? I felt confident. I was like,
locked and loaded.
I think I got Luck under a quarter of my budget. So I was like doing cartwheels. I was excited. I was a big Andrew Luck fan. But I think the reason I lasted so long is I hit on some of the later guys. Like I was able to get Matt Breida teared up. Not Josh Gordon, my bad. Mark Andrews has been amazing. And it's just not being last place. And then unfortunately, with no quarterbacks this week, it finally got to me. To be fair, Joe Mixon has not helped me across every league. Like I was a big Joe Mixon fan coming into the year, and it's not been good. It's terrible. I think he's getting hit on average like -4, like 0.4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It's just god awful. It's tough.
The fat guys
Pretty
matter.
sure Yeah. I think he had 10 for 2 yards this last week. So yeah, it was not good. Sorry, Rojas.
Yeah, speaking of Joe Mixon, my SFB roster running back. My running backs this week, my two studs were Joe Mixon and David Johnson. So it was
You are killing it this year.
Yeah.
I also have David Johnson in SFB, and I have Damian Williams. So my SFB, I see that Kyle said to ask DF.
Yeah, don't humor Kyle.
That's terrible.
Don't humor
He wants
Kyle.
to rub himself. He wants to rub himself on the back, but we're not even going to acknowledge him. We're not going to. I was a semifinalist in SFB last year. I am not going to make the playoffs this year.
I've got to scroll up about 396 names to get to Kyle. So we're just leave him.
Or you could just scroll like 3 spots back and you can see me. So
you're in good company.
That's it.
How about 300 spots right here?
Injuries are starting to hit me. Like I was a big fan of Will Disley, so I was able to pick him up in the later rounds. Austin Hooper, everybody doubted him.
Kevin.
Kevin, we were in the 107 group chat. We were all pounding the table for Austin Hooper. I picked him up in the 10th, and I'm super happy about it. Really, it's been the other two Atlanta pieces on my offense. Matt Ryan's been so inconsistent, as has Devonta Freeman. Picked it up in a couple recently, but I don't know. Also, Keenan Allen. Man, they just need to throw him the ball, and he'll make plays.
No, actually, he missed plays this week. I don't know if you watched. I saw him drop balls. Uncharacteristically, he dropped passes this past week.
The Chargers are a mess right now.
Yeah.
Thanks or no thanks to Melvin Gordon or whoever you want to blame. Cotillo, do you have your standings there in the Funhouse eliminator you got there?
Yes, we are still alive. We are currently middle of the pack or so in the remaining teams of the total score, which means nothing because, as you know, every week it's all about what you do that week. But we're still alive and we're rolling along. Actually, interestingly enough, I'm in the Bobby Koch tough guy eliminator, and my team is terrible except for the fact that I have the Patriots defense, which is currently carrying me through that particular eliminator. So just so for those of you who haven't done one or are planning to check them out next year, defenses actually do matter.
Yes. Quarterback, defense.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I'm only alive in one eliminator left. Like it's been a rough going. But I like my team's pretty decent in that one, so I think we can go places. Unfortunately,
Very good.
I don't have the Patriots defense, unfortunately.
Some of us don't have that kind of luck, Rojas. Zach, where do you guys stand now in the eliminator if you have for the dummies?
Oh, we're sitting pretty. We are right around the top of the leaderboard. We'll pretend like Kyle drafted the team. I'll feign humility and say it's all him. But we won it last year, and we're looking to repeat.
Yeah, I think I finished pretty highly last year in your alls, and this year I got eliminated in week 5, so I'm a little disappointed in that.
I noticed you and Bosch went back-to-back weeks, just getting bounced.
Yeah, that's no good. But Kevin Cotillo's still alive.
Still alive in that one.
With the high score. He had the high score in week 7, like a boss. So yeah, there's that. And I think Gabe is going to be really upset with me because I'm not going to be pushing this episode to obscene hours into the evening and early morning. So the question now becomes, guys, this is the last call, the open bar last call. If you have any last topics, anything that's on your heart you want to bring up, talk through real quick. This is it before we get ready to shut her down.
Okay. All off season, I've been pounding the table. I still am pounding the table. I will trade, even if it's a mid-21st. Go get Christian Kirk. Go get him. That's all I'm going to say. Go get Christian Kirk.
A mid-2021st. That is pricey.
If that's the price, I just a couple weeks ago I traded what's looking to be a late 2021st. So I'm okay, but I'm willing to go up to a mid-2021st for Christian Kirk.
That's the price now. I mean, now that you broadcast it, that's the price. It's gone up.
So I'm gonna have him almost
to the million. To the millions of people around the world who listen to this, they know your price now, Rojas. You're done for.
It's all right. All the people who listen to this, I already have Kirk in those leagues, so it's okay. Yeah.
What'd you have, Kevin?
I was just gonna say. Well, I was gonna ask the other guys which one of us wanted to, shamelessly plug the only network in town.
Well, you can find me, Kevin, J-Mike, and Zach's shows all on the DFPN network or the DFPN @work, #@work. And you can find our clothing at the DFPN store envy or envy store. Damn it, I should have known what that was.
Store envy, you got it.
Storeenvy.com. We have shirts. We have, I believe there's onesies for your children now. We have women's shirts, men's shirts. We have mugs. I have a mug over here. I got to go grab it and bring it back before the end of the show. But the dummies, the Dynasty Dummies, the Fantasy Football Funhouse, which we don't really record anymore, J. Mike's Fantasy Blitz, Kevin's Saturday Start Sit show, all can be found on the same. We have Riley Bymaster and Fat Mormon, or Matt Foreman, however you want to call him. They do a Devi show. that I believe they recorded the second episode to be released sometime in the next day or so. And I can be found doing the live Getting Over the Hump fantasy show every Wednesday on my Twitter. And while we don't put it onto the feed from the DFPN network, I still promote heavily what we're doing over there. So come check us all out. It's a lot of good shows all in one place, one feed. You don't got to be checking all over the place. Download it to your phone every day of the week.
So just so you know, Sal, because you messed up the store envy, Kyle is now producing adult diapers with your face on them.
Those will sell. Those will sell. People, first of all, people are shitting all over me my whole life, mostly. But people would love to shit on me. If it sells, my face, put it on there. I'm sure young children have shit all over the Dynasty Dummies onesies that are up there. So sometimes it gets explosive. Some of you guys with younger kids know that. My kids are all teenagers, and every once in a while it still happens. It's just the way it goes. That's not true. Jay Mike, put that beer down.
This is taking a very, very bad turn, J Mike. I apologize. I did not mean to do that.
He opened the door to just Pandora's box.
That's it. You can't bring up poo talk, and then it gets bad from there. So
whoa,
there's no easy transition.
Look at this sweet mug you can get there. This was pre-bald Kevin. Look.
Yeah. Look at all that hair.
Look at him. Woo, woo. Yeah. And there's Steve. He used to podcast with us. We're not sure what happened to him. He had a second kid. His entire life went in disarray. But you can get.
There are rumors that he's in a freezer in my basement. That's not true. just for all those who think that that's where he is, that he's not there.
Hey, I got a question. I got a question for you guys. Do you guys think there's any chance that the Oakland Raiders could sneak into a wild card this year? They said they're going to be buyers. They said they're going to be buyers at the deadline, but has too much damage been done to their wide receiver core with Terrell Williams out for them to make that run? Or do you think there's a chance that they could just sneak in that last wild card?
Zay Jones to the rescue.
Too much damage has been done to their quarterback position.
Damn you. I still have them available selling some places. Zach, don't kill my that hurts.
So they're going to be one of those teams that's unfortunately locked in too, right? Because they're going to get a draft spot that is not going to be conducive to getting another high, using on a quarterback. They're going to be a middling team for another, sorry, Sal, 5-10 years and be stuck in that spot. It's just, I feel bad because that's the way it is. It's looking for them, and hopefully they can hit on some other draft picks, build up a defense.
The Bears are starting to suck, and we still have a couple of their draft picks. So
fair, that is fair. I don't think they're going to suck enough, but maybe they can make a trade up since they do have a couple of first-round picks. I don't know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, Sal. I think you're going to be one of those just out of the playoffs teams for a little while here.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're not hurting my feelings. I don't think they'll make the playoffs either. I didn't think they'd even – my goal was to hopefully be somewhere around 500 this year, and that is the type of football that they are playing. They've impressed me with some of the wins that they did get. My son, who likes to taunt me, said, what happened in Green Bay. Green Bay might be the best team in the NFC right now, and we lost in Green Bay to them, so that doesn't upset me too much. Win your home games, try to win some division games. Listen, San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers, whatever you want to call them, fell apart this year. I thought they'd be competing. And Patrick Mahomes is out for a couple of weeks. We could stay close and fight for that division. I don't think it'll be them in the end, but I do like the direction they're going in. I don't think 5 to 10 years, Kevin, is true.
Kevin, even if you don't like necessarily them to win the division, don't you at least think that it's possible they can get one of those 2 wild card spots? Let's think about this.
Mildly
AFC
possible.
East. AFC East, maybe the Bills, maybe. In the North, it's just Baltimore.
I think the Bills are better than the Raiders. I think
Baltimore
Baltimore is a better team than the Raiders. I think
Baltimore's going to win the division.
If Cleveland can shock the world and come in and beat the Patriots this weekend, who knows? But no, I think the Ravens are better. I think
Ravens are going to win a division. The man just said.
But in the AFC South, you have Houston and Indy. I think
So-
both teams make it in.
But Houston's as Jekyll and Hyde as anybody.
Yeah, but it's Houston. They're going to sneak in at 9-7. It happens every year.
Probably. You might.
I don't know that the Raiders get to 9-7, and I think they have to make the playoffs.
Who the hell invited Rojas?
I mean, yeah, you said it. They're playing 500 football. I think they're going to finish 7-9, maybe 8-8, and they're going to be just short of the playoffs.
I was on a podcast preseason specifically to talk about the Raiders with other Raider fans, and I said 6-10, 7-9 would be great for me. So no, I agree with you guys. The 3-2 start was not expected. I didn't expect it. I figured we would beat Denver and then lose 5 straight. I really did. So I'm just happy that they're playing better. I think Darren Waller has been a wonderful surprise for both the Raider fans and dynasty owners who didn't sell high on him. Jake Anderson, I know you got screwed on that. I saw you write that earlier today on Twitter, but I think they're moving in the right direction for next season. I do.
I mean, they're currently sitting at what, 7th overall in the AFC. I mean, like, not to be. I don't want to give you false hope, but they are overall record wise.
I'm not a false hope guy. I'm a realistic guy. Like, I would never post, oh my God, is there any way they don't go 11-5? No, I would never post that. I'm realistic when it comes to my teams. Like for instance, with the Yankees, they got beat by a better team. The Astros were just a better team than them in every facet of baseball. So I'm not that type of sports fan. When my teams are not good, I know that they're not good. I don't get overzealous, and I don't try to claim that there's something that they're not. I was just wondering what your opinions were.
I see the look on Kevin's face. He's trying to think about the last time a Boston team wasn't good, and he's not coming up.
No, yeah. Well, that's incredible.
How the New England Revolution?
They're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs.
Those
this year.
Boston Cannons.
But no, I honestly, I was looking at what I was doing. I was looking at the schedules, and I'm sort of reversing a little bit. There is some hope there because
100%.
When you start looking at where the teams are and who they have left to play, I mean, I was thinking, a team like Tennessee or Jacksonville, one of them is going to go on a little bit of a run, and have some consistency and, get into that last playoff spot. But both of those teams have relatively hard stretches, going through the rest of the season, and they're under 500, whereas the Raiders are at 500 and, have decent, okay schedule as well. It might be an 8-8 team, and if it's going to be an 8-8 team, who knows? The Raiders could actually pull it out. So
mediocre in the playoffs.
It really is going to be mediocre in the playoffs, but it could be Oakland's brand of mediocrity.
Remember this: Seattle at 7-9 won a playoff game. In fact, that playoff game gave birth to Beast Mode. If we remember,
Gruden is the savior. Gruden is the savior. You got him for another 8 years.
Forever. He's part of the team, for Christ's sake.
I mean, and let's think about this. The Raiders are about to give us, if we're not careful, they're going to fool around and give us an RB1, and they're going to fool around and give us a tight end 1 in the same season, and they're not going to make the playoffs? Get out of here, Kevin Cotillo. I'm not hearing that.
I said, I'm changing my mind here.
When Terrell Williams was healthy, he was catching a touchdown a game, baby.
Yes, sir. That receiver.
That conference victory against the Colts.
On the road, baby.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
Huge.
Against the Texans. I mean, that's a big matchup. I mean, like I said, I think the Texans are a team that's going to either win the South or be that wild card team. And if Oakland can beat Houston, maybe they do make the playoffs. I don't know. I just feel like it's that middle of that 500. Looking at the rest of the schedule, I feel like they can split the rest of the schedule and end up at 8-8. So we'll see.
It's 2019, man.
The Texans have obviously this week out, notwithstanding against a Colts team that I think is better than most people expected, with Jacoby Brissett. I think Houston's far better than they've played. Their offensive line needs to get some consistency, but I think they're keeping Watson upright lately, which is a key to his success. And so I still think that they're going to be that team that's in the playoffs.
So
Sure.
at the risk of running the show even longer, J. Mike, Kevin brought up the Colts and the success that they're having. What team, other than the team that you follow, are you most rooting for in the NFL this year? I think the Colts are a great team to actually root for and pull for to make the playoffs based on what happened with Andrew Luck. So that would be one of the teams I'm pulling for. What about some of you other guys? Brandon, let's start with you. I know.
Wait. Can I just talk to Zach for a sec? Zach, isn't it cute that they all have to have other teams? It's nice.
Kevin, I feel you because getting back, and I don't like to talk too much baseball on a football show. I have Met fans here in New York who every year have to buy a new hat, whether it be Minnesota Twins or, I had a nephew one time who did a Red Sox thing, and they got to buy new hats every year to root for a different team in the playoffs. So believe me, I get it. I'm not even mad at you for that. But just even you douchebags, I mean, even you massholes, I mean, New Englanders, you look around and you're like, our team's already in. Let me go see what these other guys are doing. Who else? Who's a team you can root for? Indy is one.
So I think it's Indy. I mean, I was a big Andrew Luck fan, so the news devastated me. But the job that Frank Reich is doing is absolutely amazing. Everybody went from Colts as a dark horse Super Bowl contender to not even making the playoffs essentially, and they're just doing a great job. That's just the owner's the douche, but that organization from the coaching to the GM is just very well run, and I want them to succeed because it's football done right. I mean, their owner, we don't have to talk about him, but the Colts are definitely my team.
If I have to pick one for me, it's the Saints. I like the team. I like that Teddy Bridgewater is keeping them afloat while Breeze is out, and they're a fun team to watch. They play a good brand of defense that I like, and obviously from a fantasy perspective, they give you something to be interested about, and they're just a team that I enjoy watching.
Do you think Teddy Bridgewater could be the guy there going forward? I mean, not this year. When Breeze comes back, it's his team. And when Breeze is done, do you think that that's the spot that Bridgewater lands?
Yes. I don't think so. I think he signs somewhere else. I do.
You think Breeze comes back next year? Let's say Breeze comes back this year and they win a Super Bowl. I think he retires, no?
I don't think he's retiring. I think him and Brady are locked in a battle for stats right now.
The last team I'll bring up, and I know that you New England guys can't root for them, but the Baltimore Ravens, and it's because of the young talent that they have on that team. And I wrote a tweet right before the season started that I saw one of the defensive backs bringing in one of the young guys, and he was just going over everything with him. And it was a discussion about how the older guys there are really working with the younger guys. And then you have a myriad of young players, Hollywood Brown and Miles Boykin and Justice Hill, who hasn't done what a lot of us hoped he would do this year, but he's there and he's a part, mixed with Jackson. It's just been a lot of fun to watch. They're an easy team to root for, and I get why New England guys, because of the coach, wouldn't want to root for them.
Lamar Jackson is like. Yeah. To me, that was when you were saying what other teams are you rooting for are fun to watch. Immediately, it's wherever Lamar Jackson is number one. And for me, the other team that I really enjoy watching, and they haven't quite put it together yet because, again, they're young. They've got a new head coach who's got some different ideas about spreading the ball around, but is Arizona. And
yes,
that young quarterback, that young receiving core, you saw them plug in, lose David Johnson and just plug in Chase Edmonds and not even miss a beat, and they're going to be so much fun to watch going forward.
I got to see Chase Edmonds play one college game because my daughter goes to Fordham. She was a freshman the year that he graduated, and I would love to see that kid. I don't own David Johnson in a single dynasty, so it wouldn't bother me if Chase Edmonds just took the ball and ran with it.
It would bother me. So let's not.
But to your point about Lamar Jackson, he's a different level running quarterback. I watch him run the ball, and it's more impressive than anything I saw Michael Vick do.
He puts everybody on
sidesteps and
skates.
shimmies through. It's the wildest thing I think I've ever seen. And New York radio, Kevin knows this. We've talked about this on our show before, Kevin. Mike Francesa, the Pope, who's past his time, he said today when somebody called up something about Lamar Jackson. He goes, "Oh, let me see that happen in the playoffs. It's never won in any big playoff games. It doesn't happen." Michael Vick did it in the regular season. He didn't do it in the playoff games, but he did. He was the first quarterback to beat Green Bay in Green Bay, Michael Vick, after a long period of time. And that's going back to 2004, guys. I get it. But he did it. And in 2005, he had a 100-yard rushing game in the playoffs where they also won a game with 2 passing touchdowns on only 80 yards passing. It can happen. And I think Lamar Jackson is the guy to do it. I think he was definitely underrated by scouts coming out last year as far as quarterbacks. I think it's just a completely new era. You're going to see the guys like Brady move on, and you're going to get these young guys who could do it with their legs. But, man, Lamar Jackson does things I've never seen some running backs do, let alone quarterbacks.
And I see Brian Har in the chat says Lamar Jackson is currently running back 5, which he's also thrown for more than 1,600 yards. So, like, he's putting it all together.
Well, and that's the reason that it doesn't work in the playoffs, or hasn't historically worked in the playoffs. I mean, I know you just brought up a couple of examples there, Sal, but traditionally running quarterbacks don't throw well, and they stall out when against good defenses. Lamar Jackson's doing something different because he's actually throwing the ball relatively well. He's succeeding in the passing game. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you. The examples are not many, Kevin. You're right. There's not. I can't show you chapter and verse on why he'll be successful as a running quarterback, but I just think that I think that we're starting to get to that point now where these guys are just that different level of athlete. He's the first one.
Yeah, and then real quick, Zach, your other half in the chat said he always ends up rooting for Tampa, and I'm kind of in the same boat. Love all their weapons, and I'm a Jameis apologist. It's I know I shouldn't be, but I just am. There's something about him. It's sad because 1 week he'll score 40, and then the next he'll have like 5.
It just feels like a lot of self-hatred right now is what I'm hearing from you right now, Rojas. Those guys. I think it's easy to root for that kind of cast, but just to the Lamar Jackson point.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and fair enough. To the Lamar Jackson point, what he's able to do in short areas is truly unlike I think anything that we've seen. His start stop's ridiculous, obviously, but what he's doing in short areas is stupid, and he's destroying people's angles to actually get to him and do anything to him. Like I said, he's different. He's just different altogether. And Arizona was my answer too. That was my go-to because similar to your boys, Sal, similar to your boys in with Gruden and company, everybody was pooping on Gruden. And just, it thought the worst of him. And the same with Cliff Kingsbury. He can't even hold a job at Texas Tech. How is he going to come in and do anything? Now, mind you, this 3-game winning streak has been against some other terrible teams. However, the fact that they were able to even put 3 wins together in a row still says something. And Kyler Murray has shown us that his ability is something that's going to translate. What we've seen is they've been creative for the most part in how they've leveraged those wide receivers. And we've seen the running game, and now Chase Edmonds, a guy that I was really excited about coming out of Fordham, get an opportunity. And we're watching what could be the birth of something really cool in the desert. The problem becomes everyone ahead of them in the division is also really good. So there's that. Door slam shut.
Well, they've won 3 straight, and it's been impressive. That was a game I would have thought the Giants could have won at home and probably should have won at home. And listen, again, Murray does what it takes to win the games. I like to watch him play because I think he's the smallest quarterback I've ever seen next to Doug Flutie play in the NFL. I don't care what size they list him at. He's just tiny, and he's adorable.
Oh, my wood, oh, Kiowa. Oh.
He could probably wear a Salito diaper and shit all over it.
Especially against the Saints this week. That's probably what's going to happen.
Salito diapers, they're going to be a thing.
Listen,
all right, boys.
10% of the proceeds will go to fantasycares.net. Help the kids.
You hear that, Kyle? Get on the diaper production. Let's go.
Hey, AJ, Mike, I know you're going to sign off for this podcast. I'm going to say one last thing. And Kevin hates this recording with me. I constantly keep doing this, but right next to us, I have my iPad set up so I can follow along the chat. And my daughter, my beautiful young daughter, who will be 15 years old next week on October 28th, she watches this, and she left herself signed into her Instagram, and she also left herself signed into her FaceTime. And some kid, Danny Dominguez, keeps calling her on FaceTime. And he's supposed to call 10 times in the next 5 minutes. I'm about to find out where this kid lives.
Answer it. Danny, welcome to the open bar. Do you have anything to contribute? Who's your favorite team?
She must be ignoring him because he keeps calling back, and she must be hitting reject. But, so good for her. But Dominguez, if you're watching out there, you and your father better be ready.
Yeah, for real. I mean, we're gonna have to pay a visit and have him sleep with the fish or something. I don't know. That's creepy. And for the people, and since you guys are here, this is perfect timing as we get ready to close. Kevin, the people have been hassling me about their SFB 9 Podathon swag that people were supposed to have won. People have been asking, hey, did I win for the open bar t-shirt? And I say, hey, you got to talk to Sal and Kevin about that. So I don't know if you guys want to set the record straight.
Leave Kevin out of it. And I was in charge of prizes. So Kevin's
Kevin, he said, please.
Listen, we can't give away any prizes until they purchase a Salito diaper and show us that they've shit on him.
We'll send some Destin to help with the rash. Listen, I gave out a lot of the stuff. I didn't get a chance to give out everything. There was just so much stuff going on at once. But I'll go through, if you people want the open bar t-shirt that J. Mike was going to give away, I will go through it this week, and I'll make sure that one fine donator and lucky listener to the SFB Podathon will receive that this week. And I will make sure that anything else. I have a box full of Ken from RotoWare sent me a box full of SFB t-shirts. I have them right here. Hold on, wait.
Hey, I'll get a t-shirt.
Yeah, and I got plenty for you fat guys out there too. He sent me a lot of 2Xs and stuff like that. So, guys, I'm still going to be getting that stuff out. I apologize. Real life happens sometimes, and I got a lot of the stuff out, but not all of it. So, J. Mike, I'll get you a name for that shirt this week.
Thank you. And people can stop hassling me because I said, listen, I've given out plenty of free shirts, and I know that it's high demand. People want to wear it with their Yeezys. People want to wear it with their red bottoms. I get it. But listen, whatever name Sal pulls is the lucky winner.
White guys right now wondering.
I don't know what's happening right now.
Wait, they're wrong crowd. It's not the fantasy crowd.
I thought I had a stroke. Yeezy? I didn't know. Yeah.
Did he mean Wheezy? Is his chest hurt?
What happened?
I was about to start saying we're moving on up.
All right. We're delaying the inevitable. I'm not gonna let this spin out of control. Gabe would be pleased wherever he is. He's smiling as he watches this. Zach, don't you do it. Don't you do it. All right, very good. Zach, we'll go ahead and go to you first. Since Sal kind of gave his close already. Zach, tell us either where we can find you, plug away, whatever you like to sign off with.
Sal said it all with the DFPN, the network. You can find me over at the Dynasty Dummies Pod. Every week we come at you Tuesday evenings into Wednesday morning. I am at Tacit Assassin 13, but really you should be following my better half, who is Kyle, at Kayla Breck, not to be confused with at Kayla Breck. They're two different people. But no, you can find us over there. And I have it under good authority that our website will be coming back better than ever pretty soon, dynastydummies.com. But right now, if you're looking at rookies from last year, trying to figure out who you should buy, I got a whole bunch of write-ups from film notes. But that's pretty much it. And then just go back about half an hour and listen to everything Sal said, because he summed it up perfectly.
Very, very good. Mr. Rojas, talk to us. Talk to the people. The people, them. Talk to them.
All right, so you can find me on Twitter at BrennanR_519. Try and keep up with some fantasy stuff. College is crazy, so not as active as I was in the off season. But lastly, one thing I want to say is I'm a broke college kid, but you guys should still find the time, and just $5, whatever you can, donate to fantasycarries.net. Scott does a great job with everything he does. Just awesome. That also for Gabe, Beaver Nuggets are the move.
Hey, Bucky's Beaver Nuggets. Let's go.
Did he just steal my charity thing, Sal? What happened?
He did.
That's my closing thought on every
Brandon,
podcast.
you're a stud, brother. Good job.
Rojas for the win. He's a much better closer than Aroldis Chapman. Kevin Cantillo, what you got for us?
At Kevin Cantillo on Twitter, and obviously what Sal said, the DFPN at work. We're the only at work in town. Come check us out. We got stuff coming every day of the week at this point, and Kyle and Zach really put a lot of effort into bringing a marginal group together to put out some very low quality material. So check us out. Make sure you go to the Patreon page, patreon.com/Dynasty Dummies too. And if you want to throw a couple bucks our way after you donate to a charitable charity like Fantasy Cares, we'd appreciate it.
Very well then. Very well, very well. Looks like there are some nice little mashups happening in the chat. I don't want to spoil that for the folks who aren't here live. 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays here on YouTube, as well as hello Periscope. How are you? To try on the wall one. What's going on? Happy to have you here right at the end here as we close out the show. The rundown of sorts that I feel like I have to make sure that I hit on, to make sure that Gabe doesn't hit me for not closing this out very well. To our guests, my brothers, I appreciate you all very much. Thankful for you. I appreciate you all. Happy to be able to chop it up with you on a daily basis. Rojas, thank you so much for being with us. Sorry about your elimination. So glad you're not holding that against us, because the bartenders are still alive in their own eliminator. So take that, everybody who's trying to come for our heads, and everybody in our Vampire League, Trader Joe, Marvin, Frankie, all you guys. We've got 3 Vampire wins already. We've been able to suck the blood and get Jared Goff, Todd Gurley. We just got Cortland Sutton. You guys are screwed. I just want to let you know we're about to be 500 after 2 weeks. You guys are in trouble. So beware, or be square, or just be dead, because you're about to get bit again. Again, to everybody who rocked with us in the chat, thank you all. Hardy Har-Har's in the building. Big Bad Bill McCarthy, Super Duper Flex himself here with us. Kyla Breck, or Kyle LeBreck, depending upon how he's talking or treating you on a certain day. He might be Kyle, might be Kyla, not sure. But Kyle, good to see you as well, brother. And everybody else who rocked with us earlier in the chat, Jake and company. We appreciate you guys. You can find us obviously in podcast form, anywhere podcasts are. So you can go to Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. Yes, even on the wonderful world of Spotify. If you'd like to be able to leave us a rating and review, obviously 5 stars, we'd appreciate that. And if not, we'd appreciate if you just shared it with a friend to be able to enjoy a good time for a little while we talk about nonsense, fantasy football, and everything in between. So thank you all for at least considering that. Again, you can find my better half on Twitter at FFManBun. You can find me on Twitter at JMikeCheck, and you can find the show's handle at The Open Bar Pod. I would be remiss, and Gabe would be upset with me if I didn't bring up the Dummy Blitz, which we've talked about several times already. But the Dummy Blitz project I get to do for the at work. the only at work in town, as we say, for the DFPN crew. Dummy Blitz 15 and out to be able to get you the comings and goings every late Monday night, Tuesday morning, just to talk about and recap everything that took place. So happy to be a part of that. Such a fun voyage, if you will, with my brothers to be able to run through that. Last thing, got to make sure I get this in as it pertains to our Store Envy store, obviously. That's going to be theopenbar.storeenvy.com. You can find the classic Open Bar t-shirt. You can find our Girls Clout cookie shirts, Wubba Lubba Chub Chub. We've got a lot of classics on there that has come from a lot of fun here. And we've got some more things in the works as well to add to the store soon. So again, just grateful to be a part of this. What a time to be alive. What a fantastic time of year to be able to chop it up with folks, to be able to talk through football. This is good. This is really, really good. Thankful for this. Truly, truly grateful for this. So everyone, if you would, whatever you're drinking, wherever you are, whatever you're listening, water or another cold beverage of sorts, hold it up in honor of all the love. And shout out to the Dynasty Trades HQ guys for giving me this wonderful koozie that I'm rocking. Appreciate y'all. But to any and everyone rocking with us, again, we appreciate you. Thank you. And every deuces.